The CEO sat alone on a cold park bench, her expensive coat unable to stop the quiet shaking in her shoulders. Tears slid down her face as she stared at a phone that refused to ring. Just as she wiped her eyes, a small voice broke the silence and said gently, "Don't cry, miss. You can borrow my dad." She looked up, confused, and in that moment, her life began to change in ways no boardroom victory ever had. The city park was nearly empty that afternoon, the kind of place people passed through without noticing. Amelia Rhodes, CEO of one of the fastest-growing tech companies in the country, sat on a worn wooden bench as if she had nowhere else to go. Only hours earlier, she had signed papers finalizing a merger worth hundreds of millions, yet she had never felt more alone. Her phone buzzed endlessly with congratulations from executives, but the one call she waited for, from her estranged mother, never came. The silence hurt more than failure ever had. She had come to the park to breathe, but instead, the weight of her life pressed down harder. Years of choosing work over people, ambition over warmth, success over connection, all of it surfaced at once. Her eyes filled despite herself, and soon she was crying openly, not caring who saw. That was when a little girl appeared in front of her. No more than 6 years old, wearing a faded pink jacket and holding a half-eaten ice cream. She studied Amelia with serious eyes far too wise for her age. Then she said the words that cut through everything, soft and sincere, "Don't cry, miss. You can borrow my dad." Amelia blinked, unsure if she had heard correctly. The girl smiled, pointing behind her to a man standing a few steps away. He looked startled, clearly not expecting his daughter to approach a stranger, but there was no fear in his eyes, only concern. He walked over, apologizing politely, explaining that his daughter, Lily, often worried when she saw people sad. Amelia laughed weakly through her tears. She tried to brush it off, but Lily climbed onto the bench beside her as if it were the most natural thing in the world. She leaned closer and whispered, "My dad makes hot chocolate when I'm sad. And he listens. You can borrow him for today." Something inside Amelia cracked open. No assistant had ever offered her comfort. No colleague had noticed her pain. Yet this child, this stranger, had. The man introduced himself as Daniel. A single father. He worked as a freelance carpenter and brought Lily to the park every weekend because it was free and made her happy. They talked, slowly at first. Amelia didn't mention her title. For once, she was just a woman sitting on a bench, listening to a child talk about school and a father talk about trying his best. Time passed unnoticed. Amelia felt lighter, calmer. When they finally parted ways, Lily hugged her tightly and said, "You don't look like you need to borrow my dad anymore. But you can come back if you do." Amelia watched them walk away, unaware that this small, ordinary moment had planted a seed that would soon shake the foundations of her carefully controlled world. Days passed, yet Amelia couldn't forget the park, the little girl, or the man who had spoken to her like she mattered, not as a CEO, but as a human being. Against her usual habits, she returned the following weekend, half expecting the moment to have been a one-time illusion. But they were there again. Lily ran to her like they were old friends. This time, Amelia brought hot chocolate. Over weeks, the park became their meeting place. Amelia learned about Daniel's struggles, how Lily's mother had passed away, how work was inconsistent, how he worried constantly about failing his daughter. In return, Amelia slowly opened up about her own loneliness, the childhood she sacrificed chasing excellence, the family relationships she let fade because success never waits. One afternoon, Amelia discovered that Daniel had lost a major contract unfairly due to a corporate supplier cutting costs, her company's subsidiary. Guilt hit her hard. For the first time, business decisions had faces. They had names. They had children. Amelia made a choice that shocked her board. She restructured the supplier program, restoring fair contracts and protections for small workers like Daniel. It cost the company short-term profit, but rebuilt something far more valuable. When Daniel learned the truth, he was speechless. Not because she was powerful, but because she cared. Months later, Amelia found herself sitting at a small school play, clapping harder than anyone as Lily waved from the stage. She realized she hadn't checked her email in hours. And she didn't miss it. The final transformation came quietly. One evening, as they walked through the park, Lily slipped her small hand into Amelia's and said, "You don't borrow my dad anymore. You're family now." Amelia stopped walking. Tears returned, but this time, they were warm. She understood then that success isn't measured in titles or numbers, but in who sits beside you when the world feels heavy. And sometimes, healing doesn't come from climbing higher, but from sitting down, listening, and letting a child remind you how to be human again. Sometimes, the people who save us don't wear suits or carry power. Sometimes, they hold ice cream, speak honestly, and offer the one thing money can't buy, connection. And sometimes, all it takes to change a life is a little girl saying, "You can borrow my dad."